just connecting.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, we've got a little bit of feedback there. Good morning for me and good evening to you, Sarah. It's so lovely to have you on Connecting with Calli. It's a new podcast for me. I have the Arc Education podcast, but this podcast is, I guess, heart-to-heart conversations with people that resonate and that are part of the shift in the Earth's energy. And I'm really grateful to have you here with me today and to have a wonderful conversation with you. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Calli. It's great to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
I just my guests are people that have been brought to me. Whether I'm scrolling through social media or whatever it is, I go with my gut, basically. I go with my intuition. So
Yeah.
And I was very drawn to your book and to your energy when I was looking through LinkedIn. So I'm really grateful that you replied and that we're here this morning. And Sarah, before we get into anything, because we actually were having a conversation before we started recording, and we'll go back to that conversation. But to start off with, could you give the audience some background on who you are, what you've done, and your journey so far, and about the motivation and the joy of writing your book, Heal Yourself?
Yes, and thank you, Calli. So I was originally a nurse, wanted to be a nurse all my life to help people when they're in a vulnerable position in hospital, when they're not feeling well or they're having a procedure done. And I wanted to help them to get well on their journey, to leave hospital in a better frame than they came in. And along my path, I met another nurse who questioned my use of pharmaceuticals, which got me thinking because she's a nurse and that's what we do. And, in the hospital, we're all about pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
So anyway, I went home and started doing some research, and literally every night I was doing research and reading, and I couldn't read enough. And once, one door opened, 10 doors opened, 100 doors. And there was just so much information when I started looking. But until that point, because I'd been raised by a nurse within that medical model, I had no idea what was outside of the medical model. So I started looking at what I could do to support myself. And I tweaked my diet and lifestyle. And in the first month, excuse me, healed acid reflux, eczema, and psoriasis.
Oh, wow.
Went on to heal some joint pains and then candida. And I was having this battle, this mental and emotional battle, because I wanted to be a nurse all my life. And now I'm thinking, well, I can see that we can heal our body outside of the medical model by ourselves when we support it. So I'm having this battle. If I'm not a nurse, who am I? I always wanted to be a nurse and now I don't. And what do I want to do? And it was a real battle in my head. And eventually I spiraled into a dark depression and had suicidal thoughts.
Wow.
But didn't want to medicate myself because I'd been there, done that, and I knew my body could heal because I'd healed several things. As I was in the depression, my thyroid became underactive and I burnt my adrenal glands out with the stress and dropped my blood pressure really low. But again, didn't want to medicate. I knew deep within me that I could heal. I had no idea what that was going to look like. I just had this belief that I could heal it. And of course, my family were concerned, go and take the tablets, take what the doctor gives you. I'm like, but no, because, I've healed all of this and now I want, so there was that bit of a battle going on as well. And I could see that it was their love language. That's what they knew. And
Of
now
course.
I'm stepping outside of a paradigm that I've always been in,
Yeah.
to do something different. So that again caused a bit of friction. Um, but slowly but surely, I did start to heal with the practicing of gratitude and mindfulness. And then as I started to feel better, I went on and did some meditation to help me feel calm and peace within. And then as I progressed on my journey to look at my future and dare to dream something different outside of being a nurse.
Mm,
And that's how my book was born, from what I'd done in my own journey to date,
mm.
to heal myself, because I thought, well, if I can do it, there must be others doing it, and I can't be so unique. I know I'm kind of unique, but there, but there must be others healing themselves as well. So I reached out on social media, and 74 people came back and shared their own healing journeys, doing similar, but also different things, but outside of the medical model. So that's how I came to be where I'm at. And then that led me then to actually leaving nursing, understanding who I was truly authentically. That took me 2 years, because if I'm not Sarah the nurse, who am I?
Yeah,
So
well,
that took me on a different healing journey
and
inwards.
it takes the dark night of the soul to be able to, and like you said,
Yeah,
the depression and the suicidal thoughts, um,
yeah,
it takes it, it it's the dissolving of the ego. That's what it
yes,
is. Um, and your identity, because we're conditioned into identifying with so many
with our
things.
job.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
our
but with our
job,
job.
with our status, with
Yes,
everything, but everything that's on a three-dimensional level. That's what we're
yes,
trained to identify with, and it takes literally the dark night of the soul to be able to
yeah,
break away from those perceptions and that conformity,
yes.
so yeah, I totally get your story, even though it's unique, isn't unique.
No, I'm sure
You
it's
know,
not. I'm sure
no.
in fact, I've spoken to other people who've gone through a dark night of the soul, and it was that nudge from the universe, to, onto a different life path. And if I hadn't
Mhm.
have gone through that, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I am thankful that I went through that. Although it was awful, I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Yeah.
But I had to go through that to get to where I am now on my path to get to where I'm going to.
Mm. I've been through several
Oh
through
gosh.
my lifetime. Um, yeah, and everyone has leveled me up, leveled me up. I
Yeah.
I don't like to talk about levels because it sounds like being being at a higher level. It automatically, you get this idea of being better than everyone, but I don't
Yeah.
mean it in that way at all. But
On a conscious level.
on the consciousness level and on the
Yes.
vibrational level,
Yes.
you know, I, it is the destruction of the ego or the personality,
Yeah.
because we all find it extremely hard to let go of it. Um,
Yes.
it is an extremely hard thing to do, because, if I'm not this, what am I?
Yes. Who am I?
Yeah, yeah. And actually, once you let go of this,
Yeah.
this perception of you, and you find who you really are, you're
Yeah.
like, what the heck was I holding on to that for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I'm not, I didn't just change my job. There was a massive shift
Mm,
inside me as well. And I'm not that same person that I
mm,
was.
mm.
I am so much more compassionate and empathic and understanding, which
Yeah.
is quite radical when I look back at who I used to be.
Yeah. And when you say that, I'm sure it's at a completely different level.
Yeah.
It's empathetic and compassionate, but without attachment, without
Yes.
conditions, you know.
Yes.
And that's the difference when you let go of that whole perception of who you are, who you think you are, and allow yourself to be who you really are. Um,
And who you're becoming.
and who you're becoming, because it's a journey.
Yes.
I saw an advert on Facebook actually the other day. You know, these sponsored posts, and it said, oh, you know, do you know where your destination is? Are you heading in the right direction? And you know, it was all about goals. And I went, hang on, there's no destination.
It's all
And
about the journey.
it's one long journey.
Yeah.
One very long journey, and it's not just this life, you know.
Yes.
Afterwards we're still journeying, you know.
Yes.
Which actually tweaked my ego quite a lot. I was like, oh, that's exhausting. I thought
Yeah.
it's exhausting, but I realized that that was my ego, you know, my
Yes.
personality saying, oh, that's exhausting. Yeah, it could
Yeah. But
you know,
let it go
yeah, let it go.
and
Exactly.
surrender to it.
Yes. And that word surrender is an incredibly important word for
Yeah.
healing, isn't
It
it?
is very powerful. It's a powerful healer because
Mm.
often we just like we hold on tight to something because we don't want to let it go
Mm.
because we're frightened of, well, if we let that go, that's our known. And if we let
Yes.
the known go, here's the unknown. And that can be really scary. But
Well,
in surrendering
mm,
to just whatever will be, will be.
and you know, we cannot conceive how amazing it could be either.
Absolutely. No.
Um, but yeah, people fear what they don't know.
Yes, yes. And like you say, what we don't know could be far better than what we've got now.
Absolutely. And in that whole quantum field of potential, you know, we can be absolutely anything, anything,
Yeah, yeah,
but we limit ourselves because we can't conceive that we could be anything other than what this is, you know.
yeah. And
um
what we are now.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, we've gone straight to the heart of 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 who we are really as
Yeah,
humanity. And that the I guess for me, and uh, you might agree with me, you might disagree with me. That's all. But our healing ourselves is all part of our journey. It's
yeah.
learning, isn't it?
It is. It
It
is.
is.
And not everybody's ready to take that
Mm.
part, that step in their journey. And that's okay
Yes.
because some people build their lives around who they are in
Mm.
that sick role, and to step out of that sick role into the unknown could potentially mean they could lose their network of friends, their life could be radically different, and their fear stops them doing that. And that's okay. That's
Mm.
who they are, that's their lives to live.
Mm.
As much as I'd love to step in and say, let me hold your hand, let me walk you through this so you're not alone,
Yes.
it's not my journey, it's their journey. And that in itself was a whole lesson for me, that I cannot help everybody because not everybody wants help.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about your book. It's heal yourself.
Yes.
because
Yes,
actually nobody else can heal you.
no, no, and even when we go to hospital, look, I mean, look, if you break a limb, the doctor doesn't heal that bone. They might
No,
set it in a plaster cast, but your body heals that bone. The doctor might
absolutely.
cut something out or put something into your body, but they don't heal your body. Your body heals around it.
And
So
sometimes it doesn't.
yeah, sometimes it needs a little extra support.
Absolutely. But the actual healing mechanism is an internal thing. It's not we can put the body in an environment that is conducive to healing, certainly, but nobody can heal you except yourself. And actually, it's not even yourself.
It's our innate wisdom.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
It's the creator, the creation aspect of ourselves that heals, because you're creating health, you're creating new cells, you're creating um a transformation in some cases,
yeah.
So some of the stories that you've had in your book, what are your favorite? What's your favorite one, Sarah?
Honestly, Callie, I do not have a favorite one because I am in awe of all those 74 people
Yeah.
who have done the work necessary to heal their bodies. I couldn't possibly pick out one and say that's my favorite. There's a few that have nuances that you're like, well, that's different.
Well,
But it's
can you give us an example of one of those?
yeah, sure. Kevin Scott had multiple sclerosis and was in a wheelchair, and
Wow.
his brother wheeled him into the doctors for his appointment. And they both watched the doctor go on Google to look for something to do with multiple sclerosis. And Kevin's light bulb moment was, well, if the doctor can do that, so can I.
Yes.
So that was his kickstart to healing. But why not?
Yes.
And then
We
one of
we
the
all, we all get criticized for referring to Dr. Google, but the doctors
yeah,
go to Dr. Google.
yes, yes.
Uh,
And
ironic.
Kim Cherry healed himself from ALS, or motor neurone as we call it in the UK.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that they decided on at the start of his healing journey was to push anybody who didn't believe that he could heal away with boundaries. They
Oh,
did not speak to anybody who, of their friends or family, if they didn't believe that he could heal, they kept them at arm's length because they only want to be surrounded by people who had the same belief that he could heal himself. And he healed ALS, motor neurone.
amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, nothing is a death sentence, nothing.
No,
Uh, unless we make it a death
yes,
sentence.
yes, and
Mm.
that comes back to our beliefs, doesn't it? We've
Mm,
if we believe we can or we believe we can't, we're right.
we're
And I
right.
think, was it who said that? Was it Henry Ford said that?
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
remember, but yeah, it comes back to our beliefs. If we believe in ourselves, we can move mountains. But if we don't believe we can do it, we will never take a foot forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I have an interesting story, because this story is a story of healing, but not so much healing of the body, but healing of a spirit, I guess, because um, I knew a lady who had Hodgkin's lymphoma when she was in her late teens, um, and had gone into remission, through chemo and all sorts of things, um, through the medical system. And at about 40, it came up again. It she was diagnosed again with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And they first of all, they said to her, you haven't got very much longer to live. If you take the chemo and all the other chemical products that they use, you possibly have 6 months. If you don't, I don't know how, you've probably got weeks to live. Anyway, they put the portacath and everything into her, and she was on her way to her first chemo treatment, and she went, excuse my language, she went, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. If I die tomorrow, I die tomorrow. But because she remembered what hell it was when she was younger. It is hell. Chemotherapy is hell. It
It's
is
toxic.
not, it is awful, awful. And I'm not saying, because people are on their journey, but the physical aspects of chemotherapy are not very pleasant at all. And so she said, no, I'd rather die. So she went to the hospital. She told them, oh, I'm not here for chemo, just take my portacath out. Thank you very much. And they were like, what the heck? She said, don't worry about it. I'm not, if I die, I die. I'm resigned to that. Anyway, she went home. She was already eating well and doing all the things that you need to do. Anyway, her and her husband decided that they were going to quit their jobs. And she was Zimbabwean, and he was New Zealander, but they decided to go back to Africa and run a lodge in Tanzania. So really sort of relaxed, beautiful lifestyle, and 10 years later, she came back to New Zealand on holiday, and everybody, or her doctor knew that she was back and said to her, oh my gosh, what have you done? Why are you still here, sort of thing. And she said, I did nothing. I just lived my life.
And let go of the stress.
I let go of everything. He said, do you mind if we do a scan? And she said to him, oh, I don't really want to know. I don't want to know what's in there and what's not in there. And anyway, he convinced her. He said to her, look, you've lived for 10 years, you're here, what have you got to lose? So she went and had a scan, and she wished she hadn't, because when they scanned her, she was absolutely riddled with cancer. Absolutely riddled with cancer. But she was living. There wasn't any, do you know, when she found that out, it kind of destroyed her, and she died within 6 months.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't get her head around the fact that she wasn't cancer free, but she was living.
Yes. Yeah, she was symptom free.
Yeah, and I can't help but think, if she had just refused, she'd still be here.
She would never know. Yes.
She would have never known, and she'd still be here.
Yes.
So,
and that's really, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I think that's the fact that she was living with cancer, she could live. She was living her best life. And it didn't matter what the conditions were within her body, but she was healed by all intents and purposes.
Yes. Yeah. And how sad that she felt the need to be submissive to the doctor, that he had the authority to make her feel that she should follow his orders and take the scan.
Yeah.
Because you've got to wonder, if she hadn't have had the scan, what her life would have been like, because she was blissfully unaware, and she'd lived for 10 years and they'd given her only a few weeks of life without having the chemo.
Yeah, exactly.
And I see that, or I have seen that in nursing, where people have always almost been browbeaten, if you like, into taking treatments they didn't want. And as a student nurse, I remember being on a lung ward, pulmonary ward. And I remember somebody coming in with lung cancer, being standing in the room, the doctor saying, "You've got lung cancer, and we're going to start this chemotherapy, and you're going to do this, 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 this." And they just sat there and nodded and nodded. And when the doctor left, she said, "Do I have to do that?" I'm like, "No, you have free will. If you don't want to do that and you don't want to be here, you are well within your rights to just get up and leave. You don't need permission to leave. You don't need to tell anybody you don't want the treatment. You can just make the choice." And she did. She just left.
Good on her. Mm.
But I think, and it's not the doctor's fault. They're just conditioned in their training to go, here's a disease, here's a pill for that disease, or a treatment for that disease, or an
Here's a
investigation.
pharmaceutical answer
Yeah,
to.
an operation, or something that we can do. And that's their training, and that he was just going through what he was trained to do, without asking if that's what the patient wanted. Look, and he truly thought that was the best thing for the patient.
And they
But
do.
at the
They
same time,
do.
yes, yeah, but they never once asked the patient, "What do you want to do?" It was like, "Right, so we're going to do this, and it's going to be this many, and you're going to have to be in hospital for this long," and not once asked that poor lady.
Is this okay? Is this what you want? Yes.
Yeah.
But you think about it, that's our world.
Yes.
It's not, is that okay? It's this is how it is.
Yes.
And never was, never has it been so obvious as in the last 3 to 4 years,
Yeah.
where compliance has been an enormous issue, I guess, where you comply or you don't belong.
Yes. Yes. And
And people, humans need to belong.
yes, we are pack animals.
We
Some more
should.
than others. Personalities obviously dictate, like introverted people, although they need people, their life isn't about being in the tribe, whereas extroverted people tend to need to be part of the tribe and feel accepted within that.
Yes.
And so we'll go along with the tribe ideas.
Yeah. But whatever it is, whatever our personalities, we all need connection. All of us need
Yes.
connection.
Yes, we do.
And it's not just when I say connection, it doesn't mean just with each other. We all need to connect with ourselves,
Yes.
first and foremost, and we need to connect with others, obviously, and we need to connect with the earth.
Yes.
The earth is what sustains us. She's our mother, literally,
Yes.
the earth mother, and we need to connect with whatever higher power we believe in or
Yeah.
see as the higher power. I mean, even atheists, that there is a higher power. It's just that they don't, it might not be God
They
or
don't,
whatever
yeah,
it
they
is.
don't label it like some people do.
Yes,
Yeah.
but there is that higher power. And if we don't have that balance of connection, I this is just something that I know or believe. I find the word believe a little bit tricky for me, because a belief for me is like a thought. But this is more a knowing that health is totally contingent on connection.
Yes. Yeah, because and there's research to back that up, that lonely people die sooner than people with companions.
Yes. And people who aren't connected to themselves also
Yeah,
die. And with that woman that I just told you about, she was totally connected to herself and to the earth, and to as soon as the perception of her disconnection
yeah,
was present, she passed, you know.
yeah,
So connection is so incredibly important. And if you think about it, when people go to hospital, the care that they receive um, from the nurses, from the doctors, is what helps them heal. It's
yeah.
not the procedures, it's not the drugs,
No,
because some people don't feel cared for and never actually recover.
yes, yes. And sadly, I've witnessed that
Mm.
too. We had an elderly gentleman had a heart bypass, got an infection, became quite depressed, stopped eating, and then he said, "I'm done," and he just gave up and died on the ward.
Wow.
But yeah, yeah, but those are his words, like, "I'm done," you know? I don't want to, it's too much. The road ahead seems too long for
Mm.
my recovery. So he just gave up. And he had a wife and family that visited.
Wow. So
Really
it just,
sad.
it just shows you, also, our connection is completely up to us, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Again, you heal yourself.
Yes,
No,
yes.
nobody heals you. And I think
No,
maybe that's probably the whole lie. It's that's a strong word, but it's the whole deception of the medical model, is that
yeah,
the pharmaceuticals are going to heal you, the
yeah.
doctor's going to heal you, you know, um, and it disconnects you from yourself, doesn't it?
Yes, the pharmaceuticals don't heal, they just stop the symptoms or
Ah,
suppress the
mm,
symptoms. And then it's seen that when we no longer have those symptoms, we are healed in inverted commas.
mm,
But we're not healed, we just haven't got those symptoms anymore because we've
mm,
pushed them back into our body. And what our body does then is, like, because everything's a message, every symptom's a message.
mm,
So
mm.
if we take pharmaceuticals and stop that message, we shut that message down, our body goes, okay, so I need something bigger and better then. I need to scream at my owner to look at me and go, hey, you've got this healing work to do.
Yes, absolutely. So really, there needs to be a paradigm shift in health as well.
Yes, yes. And it
Um,
needs to be holistic. We need to look at
mm,
not just the physical aspects of what people are doing, which tends to be the primary
mm,
focus, but we need to look at the mental health, the emotional health, and the spiritual health,
mm,
and address all of those holistically together, because you
mm.
can't just look at one in isolation. You
No.
have to look at all four together.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. Perhaps, and this is just an idea that I've just had, if we looked at the spiritual aspect of it, or the divine aspect of it, or the energetic aspect of it, first, would that, it's just come to me, you know.
It would shine a light
I know.
because of metaphysics, and metaphysics is giving the symptom. It shows you the cause under the symptom.
Mm,
For example, like neck and shoulder pain can be carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. That's the
mm,
metaphysical aspects of it. You know,
aspect of it,
like
yeah.
hip pain is to do with moving forwards in life. What is it you're frightened of? You don't want to move forwards into. And
Mm,
you know, when we look at those spiritual causes through metaphysics, we can often identify the root cause of those symptoms, and help those clients, those people, to understand why they're manifesting those symptoms and how to heal from the root cause by
mm,
addressing the root cause of that symptom.
yeah. Wow. I think that that's a perfect place to actually stop and allow people to let that sink in, you know. Um, we might put hospitals and things out of business.
Yes, don't get me wrong, hospitals and pharmaceuticals
Oh, for
have a
sure.
place for emergencies and trauma, and if it wasn't
But also
for
for people who
emergency,
are who aren't yet ready or aren't ready to
yes,
take the next step into
yes,
the unknown.
yes,
Absolutely. And there's no judgment around that.
none
You
at
know,
all,
none at
no,
all.
because we're all
None
on
at
our
all.
own journey.
Exactly. Exactly. And yes, and if anybody's watching this and is thinking, I need I need to get hold of Sarah, how would they do that?
Oh, thank you, Calli. You can find me on my website, which is my name, sarahDawkins.com, SarahDawkins.com.
Oh,
All my
brilliant.
links to everything is on there.
On there. And where can they buy your book on your
No,
website?
not through my website, but I've got the English, Spanish, Dutch, and French links to those books on my website. But it's on Amazon worldwide.
Okay.
And if you're in America, you can buy the English version in Barnes and Noble as well.
Oh, brilliant. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I've just absolutely loved our time together. And perhaps you'll come back one of these days and we can talk a little bit more in depth about some aspects of your book and or some aspects that really resonate with you. And thank you for your time. And I really look forward to carrying on with our conversations and our association.
And likewise, thank you so much, Calli. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Thanks. Just.